Our protagonist is Sasaki, who is a lonely office worker. He absolutely hates his stressful job. However, everything starts to change when he falls for a shy supermarket cashier. But he has no clue that she's had a huge crush on him and she wants to sleep with him. Before all that, Sasaki spent every day getting yelled at by his toxic boss for absolutely no reason. His only source of happiness was visiting a nearby supermarket to see his crush, a cute cashier named Yamada. Every time he saw her, his heart went crazy, and then he'd immediately call himself a creep in his head. Still, that never stopped him from coming back. One night, Sasaki gets stuck doing overtime even longer than usual. By the time he reaches the supermarket to recharge his emotional battery, he finds an old lady at the register instead of Yamada. He figures Yamada's shift is already over, so he decides to smoke away his sadness. Unfortunately, he can't find a smoking area outside the supermarket. Just then, an emo-looking baddie calls out to him and offers to let him smoke behind the supermarket. She tells him it's a secret smoking spot that nobody knows about except her. As Sasaki awkwardly sits beside her and lights his cigarette, he wonders why he's never seen her working at the supermarket before. Suddenly, the girl turns toward him, making him panic. She quickly explains that she only needed him to light her cigarette while secretly laughing to herself about how awkward this guy is. After Sasaki calms down, she drops another bombshell and asks if he has a crush on Yamada since he always chooses her checkout counter. Sasaki shyly admits that, yeah, he does like Yamada. The girl nods and says she gets it because Yamada is beautiful and, well, generously gifted. Sasaki immediately freaks out and says he's not some weirdo who's only staring at her chest. He genuinely likes her because she's kind, and just seeing her makes his terrible days better. Hearing that, the girl smiles and says she's glad he's not like all the other creeps who constantly flirt with Yamada and make her uncomfortable. The next day, Sasaki goes to the supermarket for his daily dose of Yamada. To his surprise, Yamada thanks him for being her biggest fan. She says she heard everything from her friend, Tayama, the girl he smoked with the night before. Sasaki turns bright red and quietly walks away, mentally cursing Tayama for exposing him. Meanwhile, Yamada can't stop laughing because Sasaki is probably the only person alive who still hasn't realized that Tayama is actually Yamada herself after changing out of her work uniform. The next day, Sasaki somehow gathers the courage to visit the supermarket again, even after embarrassing himself. To his surprise, Yamada acts exactly the same as always. On his way home, Sasaki calls himself a complete weirdo again and hopes Yamada keeps scanning his groceries instead of calling the police on him. The following day, Sasaki is once again drowning in work at the office. His co-worker and best friend, Suzuki, tells him to stop taking on extra work just to help the new employees. Sasaki brushes it off, thinking it's not a big deal because seeing Yamada after work always gives him enough energy to survive another day. But then, Tayama's teasing face suddenly pops into his imagination and completely ruins his happy thoughts. Later, he visits the supermarket again, only to find that the old lady is back at the register instead of Yamada. Feeling disappointed, he leaves the store. But just as he's walking away, Tayama calls him over to the secret smoking spot behind the supermarket and asks if he'd like another smoke. Sasaki immediately complains that she betrayed him by telling Yamada he has a crush on her. Tayama laughs without feeling even a little guilty and reminds him that Yamada actually looked happy after hearing it, but Sasaki insists she was probably just being polite. Just then, he remembers the sweet snack he bought earlier. He hands it to Tayama as a small thank you gift for letting him use the secret smoking area. The baddie laughs and says she usually sees old grandpas eating snacks like this. That makes Sasaki wonder if he's officially entered grandpa territory. He sits beside Tayama and reaches for a cigarette, only to realize he accidentally left the whole pack at work. Seeing this, Tayama casually offers him one of her own cigarettes. The problem? It's the same cigarette with her lipstick mark still on it. That instantly sends Sasaki into full panic mode. Sasaki finally takes the cigarette from Tayama, only to put it out immediately. He tells her to stop messing with the heart of a tired old salaryman. Tayama laughs and says she only teases him because he's her escape from her awful job, just like Yamada is his escape from work. Sasaki is completely shocked to hear that. Then Tayama tells him to keep visiting the secret smoking spot so they can smoke together again. The next day at work, Suzuki notices Sasaki has bought another pile of the same sweet snacks. He asks why Sasaki keeps buying them over and over again. The poor guy awkwardly explains that he just needs an excuse to visit the supermarket near his house. Suzuki doesn't understand at all and tells him to stop wasting money and start saving for retirement instead. That evening, Sasaki wonders if buying the same snacks again would look weird. After thinking about it for a while, he buys them anyway. At the checkout, Yamada happily tells him that she's recently become addicted to those snacks too. Sasaki immediately realizes that Tayama must have introduced them to her. It feels a little suspicious since they don't even work the same shift, but instead of realizing they're literally the same person, this genius decides they must just be really close friends. A few days later, a completely exhausted Sasaki visits the supermarket again. Yamada notices he looks depressed. She tries to cheer him up with her cutest smile and even gives him a few small discounts. Sadly, nothing works. As soon as Sasaki leaves, Yamada switches back into her Tayama mindset and finds it strange that Sasaki only nodded at her instead of acting all happy like usual. Meanwhile, Sasaki heads behind the supermarket hoping to find Tayama for a smoke. The place is empty. Just as he starts looking disappointed, Tayama suddenly jumps out from behind him and scares the life out of him before forcing him to smoke with her. Sasaki finally sits down and lets out one huge sigh. That gives Tayama the chance to ask what's bothering him. Sasaki says it's just work. Tayama quickly says that it was actually Yamada who was worried about him, not her. Sasaki doesn't believe that for a second. He points out that her hair is down today instead of tied up like usual, so he's guessing she rushed over because she was worried too. That comment hits a nerve. Tayama blows a cloud of smoke right into his face. Then she leans in so close their faces are almost touching and calls him a cheeky guy. Sasaki instantly freezes and starts blushing. Tayama sighs and calls him a hopelessly dense loser too, wondering how long it'll take before he finally understands what's going on. After calming down, Sasaki finally opens up. He asks Tayama if he looks like Frankenstein's monster because one of the new employees at work started crying after talking to him today. Instead of worrying, Tayama imagines Sasaki screaming at people in the office and almost laughs. But Sasaki explains that he was actually trying to encourage the new employee. She suddenly burst into tears anyway. Then his terrible boss yelled at him and completely ruined his day. Still, Sasaki is more worried that the new girl might quit because of his failed attempt to help. Tayama tells him that with a workplace that toxic, the girl would probably quit sooner or later anyway. He shouldn't blame himself. Besides, she'll eventually realize that behind his intimidating face is actually a really kind person. That finally makes Sasaki feel better. Of course, he immediately ruins the mood himself by bringing up Yamada. He says someone as beautiful and cheerful as her could never accidentally scare a new employee like he did. That secretly hurts Tayama because she is Yamada, and the real Yamada is nowhere near as cheerful as Sasaki thinks. So she explains that supermarket workers aren't naturally smiling all the time. They're simply trained to smile for customers. Sasaki can't believe his beloved Yamada could ever fake a smile like that. So Tayama tries to copy Yamada's customer service smile right in front of him. Instead, Sasaki bursts out laughing. Tayama can only sigh in disappointment. This guy still hasn't figured out they're the same person. So instead of explaining, she pulls a Joker move and personally teaches Sasaki how to smile properly. Meanwhile, Sasaki keeps apologizing for laughing at her. The next day at work, the new employee who cried approaches Sasaki. She explains that she wasn't crying because of him. She was simply overwhelmed by everything happening. She thanks him for always being so kind to her. Sasaki immediately remembers what Tayama told him, so he smiles warmly and tells her she can always rely on him whenever she needs help. As soon as she walks away, Suzuki starts teasing him for acting way too cool. Sasaki immediately tells him to shut up. That evening, Sasaki returns to the supermarket in a much better mood, especially after Yamada smiles at him. Ironically, that smile makes Tayama's side feel strangely jealous. A few days later, Sasaki badly overestimates what his old body can handle. He leaves his house without wearing a jacket. On the way home, he starts sneezing non-stop. Then he notices Tayama sitting at their usual smoking spot, looking unusually upset. He decides to say hello and instantly regrets it. Tayama sighs and tells him to sit beside her. The moment he does, he notices the ground is covered with hundreds of cigarette butts. Looks like she's been stress smoking for a while. While she angrily mumbles to herself, Sasaki quietly stands up and walks to the vending machine. He buys her a hot drink and says warm drinks calm people down much better than cigarettes do. Hearing that, Tayama finally tells him what happened. A customer complained that she smelled like cigarettes. It was the first complaint the store had ever received because of her. Sasaki quietly listens before saying something that hits her right in the heart. He says it feels painful when people accept one side of you, but reject another side, even though both sides belong to the same person. Those words deeply move Tayama because they perfectly describe her double life. Just then, Sasaki starts sneezing again. Without saying anything, Tayama stands up and wraps her jacket around him. Sasaki instantly turns bright red. When he thanks her, Tayama quietly grabs the sleeve of her jacket and softly thanks him back. Sadly, he never notices. The next morning, Sasaki gets yelled at by a client yet again. Wanting to vent, he heads behind the supermarket to talk to Tayama. Instead, he accidentally catches her right in the middle of transforming back into Yamada. She quickly switches to her perfect customer service smile and says she's only here because of the vending machine. Sasaki believes the excuse without questioning it. Then he starts talking about how he actually came because he wanted to smoke with Tayama. Yamada says she already knows that, hoping he'll finally realize the truth. But Mr. Genius once again assumes Yamada and Tayama are just really close friends. Yamada can only sigh in defeat. Still, her heart starts racing again when Sasaki asks if Tayama has been doing okay since the customer complaint. Yamada smiles and reassures him that she's fine. Then she asks him to let Tayama lean on him again whenever she needs someone. Sasaki says he can't keep getting involved in someone else's personal problems all the time. Yamada smiles and tells him that if Tayama is the one who comes to him first, then there won't be any problem at all. That reminds Sasaki of how kind Yamada has always been to him. So he thanks her for worrying about him when he was feeling depressed before. door. Yamada immediately starts blushing. Just then, she switches back to her perfect customer service smile and tells Sasaki that he can still use the smoking area even if Tayama isn't around. But Sasaki says he'll skip smoking today and starts walking away. Yamada quickly runs after him. She reaches toward his face, making Sasaki completely freeze. But instead of doing anything romantic, she simply removes a flower petal from his hair. She admits she didn't remove it earlier because he actually looked kind of cute with it. The self-proclaimed old man instantly turns bright red and awkwardly thanks Yamada for helping him. Later, as he walks back toward work to Stasa, he starts wondering if sweet little Yamada might secretly have a mischievous side too. Meanwhile, Yamada changes back into Tayama and lights a cigarette behind the supermarket. She sighs, wondering how long it'll take for her clueless crush to realize that she likes him too. A few days later, an awkward Sasaki buys a bottle of deodorant. Yamada immediately starts wondering why he suddenly needs it. He even tries to explain the reason, but gives up halfway through, making her even more suspicious. That night, while smoking with him as Tayama, she casually asks if someone complained that he smells like cigarettes. It hits the target perfectly. Sasaki stares at her in shock and asks if she's secretly a mind reader. Tayama just laughs and says she saw him buying deodorant earlier. That's when Sasaki starts explaining everything. His boss hates smokers and constantly complains about the smell of cigarettes on him. Tayama tells him the solution is simple. Brush your teeth after smoking, then use deodorant. That should get rid of the smell. Sasaki almost starts glowing. He can't believe someone actually has common sense. So he starts praising Tayama for knowing everything. Then she casually hands him her own deodorizing spray and she says it's already half empty and she has another bottle at home anyway. So he should use this one instead of the cheap deodorant he bought. Sasaki gets curious about the scent. So Tayama takes off her jacket and tells him to smell the fragrance directly from it. Sasaki's brain immediately shuts down. He asks if she sees him as some kind of dog. Tayama doesn't even deny it. Instead, she says he reminds her of a friendly Labrador retriever. From that day on, Sasaki follows all of Tayama's advice after every smoke, only for Suzuki to call him an idiot. Suzuki thinks their boss is just an angry old man who calls everyone smelly as his daily greeting. But Sasaki cleverly tricks him. He says smelling nice might make Suzuki's wife love him even more. The married simp instantly gives in. He proudly says he can't wait to become even more handsome in his wife's eyes, and immediately joins Sasaki's anti-stink routine. The next day, Yamada tells Sasaki that he smells just like Tayama. She expects him to panic. Instead, Sasaki calmly explains that he's using the same deodorizing spray as her. Of course, he's blushing bright red the entire time. That unexpected reaction catches Yamada completely off guard. After Sasaki leaves the supermarket, she can't stop blushing either. A few days later, Sasaki goes shopping for a thank you gift for Tayama. On his way to the supermarket, he quietly hopes she'll like it, but when he reaches their usual smoking spot, instead of Tayama, he finds her gloomy manager, Goto, smoking there. Sasaki immediately starts sweating. Compared to Tayama, Goto's emo level is somehow even higher. Meanwhile, Goto pulls out her phone and prepares to report him for trespassing. Sasaki quickly stops her and explains that he's friends with Tayama and always smokes here with her. Goto looks confused. Nobody named Tayama works at the supermarket. Then Sasaki explains that she's the goth girl with the flashy jacket who's close friends with Yamada. Only then does Goto finally realize what's going on. She instantly understands that Yamada has been teasing this poor, clueless guy the whole time. After calming down, Goto asks why he came today. Sasaki says he brought a gift for Tayama. Goto immediately wonders if Tayama has been making him buy presents for her. Sasaki gets offended and insists that he bought the gift completely out of his own free will. So Goto backs down and offers to give the present to Tayama herself. After Sasaki leaves, Yamada shows up. The two quietly smoke together while Goto keeps staring at her with the most judgmental look imaginable. Eventually, Goto scolds her for letting a customer smoke behind the supermarket. Yamada tries using her sweetest, innocent voice to defend herself. It doesn't work. Goto reveals that Sasaki came looking for her and even hands over the gift he brought. Then she starts roasting Yamada. She complains about how ridiculous the fake name Tayama is and calls Sasaki an idiot for actually believing it. But then she notices Yamada tightly hugging the gift bag while smiling from ear to ear. At that moment, Goto's inner romance fan awakens. After reading countless romantic comedy manga, she immediately recognizes what's happening, so she decides to quietly watch Yamada's little love story from the sidelines. The next day, Sasaki can't stop imagining how badly Goto must have scolded Tayama. The more he thinks about it, the more depressed he becomes. Meanwhile, Goto is happily reading a romance manga like she's not a tired middle-aged manager. Just then, Yamada knocks on her car window. She asks if Goto really quit smoking and switched to an electronic cigarette. Goto says she got tired of cleaning up cigarette ash all the time, so electric cigarettes are much easier. Then she asks what Yamada actually wants. Yamada nervously asks if she can keep meeting Sasaki at their usual smoking spot. She jokingly asks Goto to promise she won't shoot him on sight. Since Goto desperately desperately wants more real-life romance to watch, she agrees, as long as they keep it quiet. Yamada starts celebrating, but Goto immediately tells her she has to spill all the gossip afterward. Unfortunately, Yamada is way too innocent to understand what she means. That night, Sasaki stands outside wondering if he should visit their secret smoking spot or not. Suddenly, Tayama appears behind him and scares him again. She asks why he's sneaking around like a criminal, so Sasaki tells her everything that happened about meeting another employee there, only to find out she was actually the store manager. Even though the whole manager situation completely drains Sasaki's soul, Tayama drags him back to their usual smoking spot and sits down like always. Meanwhile, Sasaki keeps nervously looking around for Goto. Tayama reassures him that Goto already gave them permission to be there. Then she pulls out the gift he gave her and thanks him. It's a tiny cat-shaped ashtray. Tayama smiles and says it made her really happy because she can imagine him running from store to store, trying to find something so specific. Sasaki doesn't understand why she's so touched, so Tayama explains that a gift this unusual isn't something you can easily find. Knowing he spent so much time and effort looking for it makes her genuinely happy. Sasaki starts wondering if she can actually read minds. Tayama simply giggles. That makes Sasaki wonder if getting a gift from an old guy like him could really make someone this happy. A moment later, Tayama offers him her portable ashtray. As Sasaki reaches for it, she suddenly moves closer, making him panic. She insists on holding the ashtray herself while he uses it. Sasaki awkwardly suggests he should just hand it over instead. Tayama agrees, then immediately pulls it away again and playfully tells him to come and grab it. Poor Sasaki stretches out his arm, only for his old muscles to cramp up. He immediately cries out in pain. The very next day, Sasaki buys cold packs for his sore arm at the supermarket. Yamada quietly laughs at the sight. Sasaki only stares at her in confusion. Meanwhile, Goto stores the whole scene in her memory so she can fangirl about it later. A few days later, Suzuki makes fun of Sasaki for still reading newspapers with reading glasses in the 21st century. He tells him to finally buy a smartphone. Sasaki proudly says he doesn't need one because his flip phone still works perfectly. The moment he says that, his flip phone dies. Later that evening, Sasaki buys a brand new smartphone, and after trying to use it for a while, he realizes he's completely lost. Feeling older than a museum fossil, he immediately runs to the smartest person he knows, Tayama. He asks her to teach him how to use his new phone. She agrees, saying she's not even surprised he was still using a flip phone because it perfectly matches his old man personality. Their phone lesson begins. Sasaki tries to type a message, fails. He tries to return to the home screen, fails again. Tayama watches him in complete disbelief. Sasaki admits all he really wants is to read the newspaper on his phone. Tayama patiently explains every single step. First, create an email account, then sign in. Open the App Store, download the news app, and finally install it. By that point, Sasaki's brain has completely shut down. Realizing he's hopeless, Tayama simply takes the phone from him and installs everything herself. The old salaryman couldn't be happier. Then Sasaki asks one more favor. Can she make the text bigger? That makes Tayama sigh. She gently touches his glasses and tells him never to wear them again after she increases the font size. Sasaki is completely flustered by the gesture and immediately agrees, but things get even worse. Tayama suddenly offers to save Yamada's phone number for him. Sasaki instantly begs her not to. He's terrified Yamada might block him if she finds out. Tayama casually lies and says she already saved it. Sasaki practically dies on the spot. Thankfully, she quickly admits she was joking before handing his phone back. The next day, Yamada gets ready for work by fixing her hair and putting on her usual customer service makeup. She checks her phone to see the day's schedule. Instead, she finds the picture of Sasaki she secretly took yesterday. Just looking at it makes her smile and gives her enough motivation to get through the whole day. A few days later, Suzuki laughs at Sasaki for not even knowing what online personality quizzes are. Meanwhile, Suzuki is busy taking a quiz about what his favorite cigarette brand says about him. Sasaki wonders if Tayama would enjoy something trendy like this. That night, he introduces the quiz to her. At first, Tayama acts way too cool for something so silly, but after Sasaki gives her his best puppy dog look, she gives in. She asks about his result first. A traumatized Sasaki reveals that the quiz says he's a masochist who secretly looks down on other people. Tayama bursts into laughter. Then, Sasaki asks about her result. She awkwardly reads it out loud. Apparently, she's a two-faced person who enjoys weird things. She immediately says the quiz is obviously nonsense, but Sasaki's soul nearly leaves his body after hearing it. He instantly regrets making her take the quiz. To apologize, he actually kneels in front of Tayama and says sorry for making her read something so embarrassing. Tayama tells him she normally hates talking about personal things, but she'll forgive him because she knows he only wanted to share something fun with her. Then Sasaki says at least one part of the quiz was correct. She really is two-faced. Tayama freezes. For one glorious second, she thinks this clueless man has finally figured out that she's Yamada, but then Sasaki ruins everything. He explains that he means she's cold on the outside, but surprisingly warm once people get to know her. Completely annoyed, Tayama grabs him by the tie and pulls him close. Then she stuffs a cigarette into his mouth and tells tells him to smoke. After Sasaki calms down, she lights it for him, and he apologizes all over again. The next day, Sasaki is still drowning in guilt. He decides not to line up at Yamada's checkout because he doesn't think he deserves to see her after making Tayama uncomfortable. But Yamada notices him first. She calls him over and offers to ring up his groceries herself. Sasaki instantly blushes and obediently walks over like a loyal puppy. Watching from a distance, Goto starts wondering what happened between these two. Later, that day, Sasaki finishes a meeting with a client in the blazing summer heat. The client thanks him for the proposal he prepared. At the same time, the television announces that summer is arriving in Japan earlier than expected. Sasaki isn't happy at all. It just means he'll have to keep wearing hot suits and ties. After work, the exhausted salaryman heads to the supermarket planning to buy some ice cream. But the moment he sees Yamada wearing a short-sleeved uniform, his brain completely shuts down. Without buying anything, he immediately leaves. The next day, Tayama teases him about it. She asks why he walked into the supermarket yesterday only to leave without shopping. Sasaki tries to play it cool. He claims he only wanted ice cream, but after the air conditioner cooled him off, he didn't need it anymore. Tayama isn't buying that excuse. She asks if the real reason was Yamada's exposed arms. Sasaki gets so flustered that he accidentally burns himself with his own cigarette. Seeing she guessed correctly, Tayama laughs and asks if he's secretly a Victorian gentleman. Considering a woman's bare arms completely broke his brain. Still trying to act calm, Sasaki insists it's not a big deal. Retail workers change uniforms depending on the season all the time. That makes Tayama wonder if Sasaki actually thought Yamada's arms looked pretty. Instead of answering, Sasaki just turns bright red and starts sweating like crazy. Trying to change the subject, he asks if she's too hot wearing that jacket in this weather. Without saying a word, Tayama slips the jacket off her shoulders, revealing a crop top underneath. Wow, beautiful, like a certified guy who's never seen a woman's skin before. Now it's time to wrap up the story. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Till then, peace out.